Hi, I'm Dr. Davy Thornton, and I'm an associate professor in the chair of the Communication Studies Department here at Southwestern. Communication Studies is an incredibly diverse discipline. According to the National Communication Association, there are over 22 distinctive areas within communication studies, and each of these areas has its own methodologies, its own publications, and its own list of canonical literature. To make it even more complicated, each of these 22 plus areas has their own subfields and particular ways of doing things. There's really no university, even the largest state university, that can adequately cover all 22 areas or the entire scope of communication studies. At Southwestern, we've identified 2 areas within the larger field of communication studies: rhetorical studies and critical media studies.
So one of the things that's important as critical scholars of communication is to notice when that's happening and really examine.
The first class in the major in communication studies is critical cultural communication studies, and that serves as an introduction to the ideas, the theories, and the methods that we use in communication studies. At Southwestern, we conceive of communication studies as rhetoric and media studies. So we're really trying to find out what rhetoric looks like in practice. And so how our world and our identities are shaped by the communication that's happening in popular culture, in our lives, in our relationships, in our families, all of those different places where communication happens.
Every day, more and more people are discovering something extra in smoking pleasure.
Raleigh? Oh, no thanks. I have a pack.
The Communication Studies Department at Southwestern is all about how we communicate and why we communicate. It's talking about the different forms that we communicate in, right? So advertising, television, broadcast media, on the radio, and then also why are we doing it and the messages that we're sending. And so we really go in depth in a theoretical sense on why do we talk about these things and not those things? Why do we frame things in certain ways? But at the same time, it's also really grounded in theory, so you have a very deep understanding of exactly why people communicate the way that they do.
The class I teach that every student in Comm Studies takes is called Media and Culture. And in this class, we study the interrelationship between the media that we use to communicate and the culture within which that's happening. And so we talk about how culture shapes media and media shapes culture. And the way that I teach it is I start with where we are now. The landscape is shifting under our feet constantly with media. And then we go back and take a historical approach. How did we get here? How did this interrelationship work in the past? What did we learn about it in the past that we have theorized, and how do we use those theories to help explain what's happening now as well as what's going to happen in the future?
Because Southwestern focuses so much on theory and so much on macro theory and different ways of viewing the world, communication studies graduates are able to then apply the theory that they learned to a wide variety of different topics and subjects and different disciplines way outside of just communication studies. So communication studies is based on the thought that you need to be a good communicator regardless of what sphere you're in.
Communication is the foundation for what makes us human. So whether our majors go into the hard sciences, business, education, or the creative arts, they will be able to analyze and create powerful and effective messages in an increasingly media-saturated world.